Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for another episode of the Cosmopolite Collective. I am here, one of your hosts, TeAnna Lauritson, and I'm also joined by Erika Gosselin, Kirsten Treadwell, and TeAnna Strickland. Hello, ladies.
Hello.
Hey.
So today we want to talk about a topic that is near and dear to our hearts, and that is plus size travel. Now, I don't really know if I like the term plus size travel. What do you ladies think about that term?
I don't mind it. I mean, I guess I've heard some different things over the years, but I don't mind plus size travel. I am plus size, so
Okay.
I don't mind it either. I've been dabbling with referring to myself as fat to kind of take the stigma out of the word there. So I've been dabbling with saying that depending on who I'm talking to. So that was big for me to say this on a podcast. But yeah, I've been
Oh,
dabbling with
wow.
saying that about myself just because it's not like society has made it a negative connotation. It's really just a descriptor. So
that's one thing
That's
I haven't done. Like, I'm not a fan of that whole, yeah.
that's so interesting. I was just reading about that. It was actually an online influencer, Tess Holiday, I think is her name.
yeah, I
I don't
love
know if
her.
you're familiar with her. And yeah, I follow her on Instagram, and I had just seen that where, people use fat as a descriptor and not as some, negative kind of word that actually means more about who you are as a person or anything other than just an adjective, I guess. So that's interesting. Well, if everyone's okay with plus size, I'll use that term. Feel free to throw in other terms. But part of the reason we wanted to have this conversation was basically all of us love to travel. We travel all around the world. We travel locally, nationally. We've been on trips together. Um, and so it's one of those things where we've noticed that there is a difference between traveling while plus size and traveling when you are on the smaller side. And it's a lot of things that other people might not necessarily realize. I know I fluctuate. My weight is always going up and down. So sometimes I am smaller and I notice things that are easier when I'm traveling. And then when I gain weight, I notice certain things like the airline seats and different things where I'm less comfortable. So, what are some of the things that you notice when you're on a trip?
Well, I'll go first. One of the things that is the obvious one is just the plane seats. The seats aren't really made for anyone that is like not tiny. So it's just super uncomfortable. The plane seats and the seat belts like not fitting great and just being uncomfortable for hours at a time, crammed up in a space. Like that kind of thing is probably the biggest thing that I have to mentally prepare myself is okay, how long am I going to be smashed up in this seat? How am I
Hmm.
going to try to like shrink myself so I don't feel like I'm impeding the person next to me? Like you go
Hmm.
through all these mental gymnastics.
Especially if you're in a middle seat.
Oh, I don't do that at all. So that's never going to happen for me. Never sitting
A
in a middle
girl after
seat
my
ever.
own heart.
So I'll definitely back that up. Like, traveling the seat size is, especially when you're flying on domestic flights, the seat size is a whole letdown. Internationally, I feel like it's a little bit better, especially
Mhm.
like on the long haul flights. And then like getting into like the bathroom sizes, using the bathroom on
Ooh.
a domestic flight is not happening as a plus size woman. Like, I would have to literally be in intense pain and dying to make the decision to use a domestic flight restroom. Internationally, though, like, it's a whole different ballgame. Like, I feel like I can do jumping jacks in some of those bathrooms. So it's different. Like, you definitely feel a lot more comfortable on those longer flights in that
Mhm.
aspect. But then on the flip side, you have to worry about things like swelling and
Mm.
stiff bodies, and it's a no-win situation. So
Thank you
I feel
for
like
bringing up
swelling.
the bathroom. Sorry, I just
Yep.
the bathroom thing really triggered me. I
Yeah.
like don't even drink water. Like I
Yeah.
won't drink anything before I get on the flight. If I do, it's like literally a little swig of something so that I don't have to use the bathroom. Like it's like how far can I make it without having to use this bathroom? Like that I have to be it has to be something crucial. Like I
Yes.
literally cannot make it until we land for me to use the
Yes.
bathroom on a plane.
Mm.
Well, and like you said, you won't sit in the middle seat. So I need to know aisle or window for you
Oh,
because that's
definitely
a big thing.
window. Window for
Okay.
me.
I'm usually the same window because I don't want to have to constantly get up for people.
Yep.
But sometimes the legroom is worth it to take the aisle seat.
The swelling, is that a plus size thing? Or I always, my ankles and things always swell. When I travel, usually when I travel internationally to some place that's like tropical, where there's a lot of humidity, that's where I normally notice the swelling. What about you,
Oh, I
Erica?
swell no matter what. My legs, that's just what they do. The ankles, the calves, the thighs, just especially on a plane. And when I land, and it kind of not ruins my vacation, but like it just hurts. Like it's just painful and tender. And especially when you get off the plane and want to go to the beach and your ankles are so swollen that it hurts to walk. Or just even walk in sandals or flip flops.
If you can even fit your sandals and
Yeah,
flip flops, I've had that happen literally where I
yeah,
could
like I have
not.
to wear compression socks, sneakers, because if I don't wear
Mhm.
sneakers, then my feet are going to be ginormous because it also keeps them contained. But yeah, and I think also for the seats too, I think they're just made for very stick figured people. Like nobody with curves. Like if you have hips in those airplane domestic seats, they are not comfortable whatsoever.
Well, and
Mm-mm.
historically over the years, the seats have gotten smaller and smaller and
Yep.
smaller,
Which
and
is
there's no
interesting
consistency.
because the size of the average woman, I think, has gotten bigger and bigger
Mhm.
and bigger.
Well,
So
even
it's
just the average
really,
person.
Yeah.
yeah, the average person. So it's interesting to me that the seats would get smaller, and even the size of the seat belts, because I know there's seat belt extenders and things like that, but it's so interesting to me because I just see a lot of people not even buckle their seat belts. You know what I mean? It's just, I mean, I just find that, interesting that airlines haven't thought of that. I mean, the goal is to make money. They're trying to cram as many people into a plane as possible. But still, it's very, it's just odd to me that even when there's newer planes that are coming out, they're not taking into consideration the average size,
Yeah.
particularly in the United States. Maybe in Europe or Asia, they might look at it differently. Um, so, are there ever does does your size does being plus size ever impact how or where you travel, or is it just kind of like I don't, I'll go anywhere and I will find a way to make accommodations as
Or
needed?
even like the length of time you're in the like on the plane and how far
Mm.
the actual location is.
I think for me, like if I get it in my mind that I want to go somewhere, I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to make it work. If that means that I have to make accommodations, whether it's because of my size or medical conditions that I have, like I'm gonna make it work because
Mhm.
I want that experience. And just because of my size or my circumstance, like I shouldn't have to miss out because of that. So
Mhm.
if I can make the accommodations and it's reasonable for me to do so, I'm gonna do it.
Yeah, that's exactly where I'm at with it. So, have I thought about like I don't think there's a place I thought about that I'm like I don't know if I want to go there because it's like I'm gonna have to be on the plane forever. Probably the place that I haven't been that I want to go is Asia, but I know it's going to be a long flight. But for me, I know when I do get ready to go there, I'm like I'm probably going to buy, I'm going to do business class or something. Like I know I'm at the point now where I'm willing to pay more for comfort. So,
Mhm.
like you, TeAnna, if I really want to go somewhere, I'm gonna go there. I'm gonna figure it out. I'm gonna mentally prepare whatever it is. Like, I travel a lot for work, and I had to go to Mexico City a couple of weeks ago, and it was like a 4.5 hour flight. And I'm like, God, I really don't feel like sitting in crammed seats for that long. And I'm like, well, I'm just going to pay a little bit extra. The rest of this flight was free. I'm going to pay extra so I can have first class and I don't have to worry about this. And it really was worth it. So wherever I'm doing a long haul flight, if I can afford the first class or the business class, I'm going to try to do it.
Well, and I'll speak to that a little bit more too. So I went to Thailand at the beginning of the year with some of the ladies on this podcast, and on the flights over, I had the option to upgrade my seats, and I just had purchased like the basic whatever seats to start with. And in my head, I couldn't convince myself that it was worth the money to upgrade. And I was convinced by other travelers to go ahead and just bite the bullet and update or upgrade my tickets, and I was able to do that. And I kept complaining beforehand that I can't believe I paid this much money to only get like an inch more space or an inch and a half more space each direction. I was so thankful that I did that because I walked into day one feeling better. Like
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't as sore as I probably would have been sitting in very cramped up seats. And there was, better food options. There was the ability to move around a little more. And
Mm-hmm.
I was so thankful that I did that on the way, on the flights over. On the flights back, I didn't have that option. And I got home and I was salty. I was super mad about it. I was like, okay, if I ever travel internationally again, like that's the way to go. Even if it's just like one level up.
Yeah, saving that money to be able to, but that's the other thing. Should you have to spend that much more money? I mean, not everyone is able to spend that
Yeah.
money. So that is something I think we're fortunate enough to be able to upgrade if we need to. Um, but not everyone has, has that, they're not able to do that. And so I feel like, it's just kind of one of those questions of, what responsibility do airlines have? I know some people would say, well, it's your responsibility. Why do you weigh so much? Why do you, you know, why should we have to accommodate you and your choices? But I think what people don't realize is it's not always about a choice thing. There are different health issues. There are different things that people don't think about. There are medications that you might take. There are, things that impact your weight. You might have had children. You might have, whatever the case might be. Um, and I think that's a really rigid way of looking at it. But I have heard that argument before when it comes to airplanes. I always think back to that you remember that Tyler Perry movie Why Did I Get Married, where Jill Scott plays that role
Oh,
where they're
yeah.
telling her she has to get like buy an extra seat, you know and even that to me in some ways it feels like discrimination.
Yeah,
um
it is.
you know and I've heard arguments made that way. I know some people have kind of taken it farther in some places. I've read articles about that, but that's kind of the argument against it, is why should we have to accommodate you?
Yeah.
um and it's not necessarily that easy. um
Yeah, I think to that I feel like I just think it's profits over people and their comfort. Like an
mhm,
airline would rather squeeze however many more seats they can get on the plane than worry about trying to accommodate really not even like plus size people per se, just normal size people. I don't think those flights are made for anyone but maybe like kids. Um but
Agreed.
and there's like all different kind of reasons for why someone looks the way they do. Literally just genetics. Some people's bodies are just larger than
mhm,
others, like, and it just is what it is. Like, you could eat the healthiest in the world and someone else can eat like trash and be smaller. Like, it just kind
mhm.
of is what it is. So I think for really not even just airlines but just society in general, I feel like it's easy to say like, oh, well, you chose to eat like that or you chose to look like that, and that's why you're going to have to
Mhm.
deal with things not being accommodated for you. And it's like, no, we're actually just not being accommodating of people in the world. Like, we're not trying to accommodate people in general, and it's really just profits over people is what
Yeah.
boils down to.
Yeah, especially since they've been making seats smaller. Even for average size people, it's not comfortable. So they'll pay extra for the extra room seats, you know, that they make, or, you know, first class, business class, whatever. And also probably why they don't put seatbelt extenders in there either, because they don't want people to feel comfortable, because they know that they're at an advantage being in America compared to other countries. So
they'll just, you know, make you uncomfortable as possible so that you have to upgrade.
Pretty much. Like, it's all a racket, even like global entry and TSA pre-check and all that. Like, oh, here, pay this money so you don't have to stand in line. It has nothing to do with an extra layer of security. I'm no less safe than I was before. It has nothing to do with that. It's all a racket.
Yep.
It's the appearance of privilege.
Yes. Exactly.
Yeah.
People like to feel elite. I do have TSA pre-check, so.
I mean, I got global entry also. I am not standing in line. I will pay for convenience.
Oh, yeah.
However, I understand that it's all bullshit.
Agreed.
And even to think about it, like, people that are tall, like, they also have to get correction. It's not just, you know, the size, or what if you have a disability, you know what I mean? Like, there's so many different reasons, and they just want money at the end of the day.
So what are some things that you do to travel more comfortably? I know some things you kind of alluded to in terms of, you know, if you want to make a trip happen, you're going to do research in advance. You know, sometimes you have to research where you're going, the modes of transportation, things like that. But what kind of things do you do that accommodate you better when you're traveling? Like, I know, TeAnna, you have your own seatbelt extender.
I do. Yep.
Yeah, me too. I have them for all the different like airlines. They're all labeled.
Let's be fair, Southwest is different than the other airlines.
Oh wow, I did not know that.
Yep. I don't want to get there and ask for them. So I just have one for each of the different types of airlines. So I'll tell a story on how I got them. I just took them. I was like, all right, I'm on Delta. Let me take this with me and use it elsewhere. And I really started doing that because I'd asked for one I had like a connecting flight, and I'd asked for one, and I'm like, oh, I don't want to have to ask for it again on my next flight. So I'm just going to keep it in my bag. And then I was like, wait a minute, why don't I just have these and just keep them with me? Now, I'm not saying that other people should just take seatbelt extenders. I once said that in a forum. It was this plus size influencer, and she had a forum, and it was called like Traveling While Fat. Mm-hmm. And people were talking about seatbelt extenders. And I said that I just took it and just kept it because this woman was like, I'm really nervous to ask about it. And so I said what I did, and people jumped down my throat. And so I was like, oh, okay, all right. People are upset that I took some seatbelt extenders. I'm like, it ain't nothing but the little demonstration seatbelts. They got plenty of them back there. But anyway, I have seatbelt extenders, and depending on what airline I'm flying on, I always make sure I pack that with me.
Mm-hmm. So that is kind of the same thing for me. Like, the first time that I realized that I needed a seatbelt extender, I had gained quite a bit of weight from some meds that I was on. And I was just like, I don't want to have to go through the stress of asking on the next flight. So I just like dropped it in my bag and went about my business. And then the next time I flew like a different airline, I was like, oh, okay, well, I know like all of those airlines have one type. Southwest has one type. Like, I'm good. So I have my extenders, and it's actually come in handy before, not in the US, but when I've been traveling overseas, I actually was on a flight where they did not have the right kind of extender on the flight. And the extender that I was handed by the stewardess or the flight attendant did not fit. Like, it would not connect and then allow me to buckle. Like, it fit in one spot, but then it was almost like a jump seat extension. Like, it was just strange. So I told them like, hey, this isn't right. And they were just like in a panic. I don't know what to do. That's all we have. And I said, I have my own. Can I use it? And they're like, sure. So I just clicked that in, and I felt safe because I don't ever want to have the time where I feel like I'm compromising my safety and my wellness because there's not an accommodation for me.
Did you order them online, or where did you find for those that didn't take them? and
You can
see
order
them
them
in the
on
bed.
Amazon.
Where might one find them?
You can order them on Amazon.
Okay.
I will say, I've also seen in like some of these travel groups on like Facebook or social media that
Yeah.
if you say that you ordered an extender online, you will be attacked.
Really?
Yeah.
Because the airlines and the FAA here in the US
Yeah.
are very strict, and they say that you are not supposed to use extenders that are not from the aircraft you were on.
Interesting.
And so if you bring your own extender and they catch you using it, they can take it. Um, but I have never
Wow.
had that happen. And most of the time, because I feel so confident in my size and I just feel like I belong there and I'm going to take up the space and be where I deserve to be, I still ask for one. I usually have it packed in my carry-on as an in case of emergency, or if they run out. Like in my head, I'm thinking they're going to run out of them one day.
Mhm.
But I always have it with me, but I usually ask when I board the plane.
You've brought up both of you have brought up different groups. What are these travel groups that you're a part of?
Oh,
How
I'm
did you?
not in that one anymore. I left it because
Oh,
they ate me up for that seatbelt extender. I said, "Ooh, let me get out of here. It's toxic. Let me leave." So I'm
Right.
not in it anymore.
I've been in a couple of those that I've been in, and I'm like, ooh, this is volatile. Like, let me get out of here. I'm in one called Traveling Ball Plus Size on Facebook,
mm.
and it was actually started by Chastity Garner, or Garner Style, as people
Oh,
know
that's
him
the one
on
I was
social media.
in, and then I left it because they were being
Okay.
mean. Yep, that was it.
It's gotten significantly better, I will
Okay,
say.
that's good.
But I actually have been in that one for years. And prior to going to Thailand, like I definitely like searched quite a bit about traveling to Asian countries because I had never done that before.
Mhm.
And before traveling to like other smaller cities here in the US, like I might post like what's to do there, or I'll check and see if other people have posted about it. And it's kind of cool to like see the posts from people in there, because some of the other women will comment, and it's majority women. The other woman will comment and say like, these are my measurements, or these are my sizes, this is my weight, anybody else similar in shape to me, here's a picture for reference. Like, let's see if you have had similar experiences. So
Mhm.
it's kind of nice to like be able to see that there are other women around the world that go through the same kinds of situations as I do when traveling, and we're still all out there living our experiences.
I'm gonna get back in there. That sounds very helpful. I'm gonna
Oh,
go
girl.
back. I just won't post. I'll just lurk.
There
Yeah.
you go. Well, and the other thing I was thinking about, so I'm a spa person. I love to go to spas when I travel. I always want to get massages, as many
Always.
as I can.
Same.
And that is another, sometimes you don't realize that you have to plan or think about something until you actually get to a place, and you're like, and one thing I notice are like the robes. Sometimes some of the robes in the spas are made for really tiny people, and I'll
Mhm.
get it on and I'm kind of like, ooh, like it won't go over my boobs,
Yep.
or it won't go over, like I'll try to like put the middle, and I'm like, if I walk out the hall in this, I'm gonna have a line down the front just showing everything. So I've that just different. Have you encountered any of those kind of places or things where you've gone and you've just been like, oh my gosh, I didn't know I had to plan for this, but I probably should have had my own robe, or bigger towels. A lot of the towels in places that you go are like really small. They're like hair towels that they want you to use for your whole body, and you're just like, I want to just be wrapped up in a nice towel. Um, have you
My
encountered
biggest
anything like that?
my biggest qualm is whenever I've traveled to like a beachy location and I
Mhm.
go to a spa at the resort, they always have those like mesh underwear that you're supposed to like, or like those
Oh,
stretchy like underwear that they want you to put on for like body scrubs and things, so that you
oh
don't get these
yeah.
scrubs on your like bikini or whatever. And
Hmm.
I've actually asked, can I keep my bikini bottom on instead? And they're like, no, 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 we don't want to get stuff all over it. I'm like, but like those things never fit. I have a lot of junk in the trunk. Like those things like barely come up over my thighs. So it's very frustrating when they're like giving you like the super small hospital mesh panties that they want you to put on. And you're like, this isn't going to cover anything. I might as well just be naked.
And it's, and it sounds all negative, but well, I guess I should say, there are things that are negative about traveling while plus size. Um, One of the things that I've noticed is a lot of it has to do with your attitude. And I've heard you both mention about, I deserve to be here. And, if I want to go on a trip, I'm not going to deny myself that experience. And I feel like I've struggled with that both ways because I've gone on some, like, say, Caribbean vacations where I'm small and I'm romping around in my bikini and blah, 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 you know. And then I've gone on some where I've gained weight and it just puts me in a completely different mood. Like I'm on the beach, I don't want to be in a picture. It changes the way I take pictures on the trip because instead of taking pictures of me, I'm like, no, let me take a picture of that beautiful mountain over there or something. I'm taking more like scenic pictures or more head photos versus full body photos, things like that. And I think even just as single women too, when you're traveling, it was one thing where, I would go to different countries and I'd get all this attention and I would be like, oh, this is great. And then there's been some where I've gained weight and I go and I feel more invisible. And that somehow impacts my mood. Not that it should, because the attention that you get should not, should not determine, your experience on a vacation. But just being 100% honest, like, those are things that I've noticed before. Have you all experienced anything like that when you've traveled?
Yeah. I wanted to comment on the thing about like special accommodations for like spas and stuff like that. I just be out here. So I like to get massages. I'm gonna get a massage. The robe don't fit. I'm gonna be like, hey, y'all got some men's robes over there? I know they probably bigger. Let me get one of them. Or
Mhm.
I do bring my own robe wherever I go because it's like I'm paying for this service. I deserve to be here. I deserve to experience this. And when I get a massage, I'm not wearing nothing in there. So it is what
Mm-hmm.
it is. Y'all gonna see it. I just think about it as like if you're like providing services, like there's nothing you haven't seen. So
Mm-hmm.
it is what it is.
That's true.
Um, when you were just talking now about like what it's like kind of being just I guess like more of the social aspects of it, for me, like I've never been a person that people have approached to talk to. Like it rarely happens. So I don't really think about like, oh man, like damn, like nobody is talking to me. Like I don't think about that now. Back in the day, like when I would go to Vegas with my friends, we'd do a girls trip and it's like everyone else gets paired off and I'm kind of just like over here chilling because no one has approached me. And it used to be really hard. And I would be like,
Mhm.
dang, like nobody wants to talk to me. Like I know I look cute, I know I'm pretty, but it's
Yeah.
like I'm the fat friend, so no one wants to talk to me. But then I had to say to myself, is there anybody in here that you wanted to talk to? No, there isn't. So why are we getting in our heads about like, yes, like it's so difficult. You have to make space for yourself to feel however you feel. So in
Mm-hmm.
the moment, if you're feeling kind of down, like, oh my God, like, I'm used to, men approaching me and I'm not getting that attention, like this kind of sucks. I had to turn it around and say, like, I'm not getting a man to approach me, but there's not a man in here that I want to be approached by. So, like, I'm good over here. I know I'm the shit. I know I look good up in here. And if nobody took the time to stop and talk to me and learn about that, then oh well. Also, like, if there was somebody I really wanted to talk to, I might go try to strike up a conversation with them myself if it was like, if I really wanted to talk to somebody. But I think I don't know if it's because I'm nearing 40, but I'm at the age where I'm just like, this is it. Like I know I have a great personality. I know I got a lot of great things going on over here. So I'm not really gonna be phased by like, oh, I'm traveling. Dang, nobody talked to me. Like, oh well, they missed out.
You forgot a great sense of humor.
I
Um,
will back that up because there's definitely been times in my life where I feel like I've kind of been a little in my feelings, like, why is that not? Why am I not getting the attention? But I feel like that was definitely when I was a lot younger. So maybe it is now that I'm older, kind of like exactly what Kirsten said. Like, there's nobody in here that would be worthy of my attention, and maybe that's me being a little cocky, I guess. But I don't need the justification of men approaching me while I'm traveling, and like especially if I'm on a trip with my friends, like I that's the least of my focus at that time. Um, I do think that it impacts a lot of people's perspective when they're traveling or when they're in different areas and they're not getting that attention. But we also have to think about the fact that there are a lot of cultural differences. So, like in one country, us curvy girls might get more attention,
Oh
even
yeah,
if
that's
we
so
want it.
true.
But then in another country, it's like, so I feel like it just kind of depends on the person, if they're like seeking that attention or desiring that attention. And then also if that's a country where it's more desirable, for lack of a better way to say it.
Yeah,
So,
I definitely notice regional differences. Like you said, in some places, like in the Caribbean, I noticed that they like all kinds of women. And in certain countries, it's you get more attention than others. And you're right. I mean, you shouldn't get your validation based on who is hitting on you. I think it's just for me, it's a very real feeling of, wow, when I came here before, it was like I couldn't keep them off me. You know what I mean? And then other times you're just kind of, and I think it goes back to where, TeAnna, you said, like, when you get in your feelings about something like that, it can really impact your mood and how
oh
you
yeah.
feel, your enjoyment on your trip. Like, you're not taking the time to experience, like, hey, I'm in another country right now. I am traveling. The sun is shining. There's a lot of people that would want to be here, right? Where I am, and I'm able to be here and focus on that. And I do think a few different things have helped with that. One is the advent of more places, more plus size clothing places where you can really buy clothes where you feel comfortable, because that was hard for me when I was smaller and then gaining weight and then losing weight and gaining weight. It was like back when we used to go to malls, there were like only those stores, that you would go to, and they only went up to a certain size. And then once you got to a certain size, you were always had to go to Lane Bryant or Torrid. And Lane Bryant at the time had more matronly clothes. They've kind of like they've I feel like their clothes have gotten better over the last however many years. But
Yeah.
back in the day, it was like a very matronly type clothing. And then actually the two of you taught me about different things. Like Tiana's the one that put me onto the Dia box,
Mhm.
and fashioned the figure. And Kirsten put me onto Eloquy, which, Erica, if you want to blame somebody for all the boxes that are constantly in my house and stacked up, you can blame these two, because they put me onto that, where it was like, wow, there's clothes that actually look good, where you don't either have to be in a tent or being dressed in all black, or, clothes that actually help you flaunt your curves,
Yeah.
and feel confident and feel like you look good when you're out there. And I think that helped while I was traveling. And then I also think, the whole body positivity movement has just gone a long way over the last few years.
Mhm.
Um, and so I'm seeing a lot more plus size influencers. We're seeing a little bit more plus size models on the runway, not a lot, but we're seeing a few more. And if anything, social media has given a platform for a lot more plus size influencers that have really come in, that shown that you can be beautiful and attractive and desirable at any size,
Yeah.
and that fashion is for everybody, and that, there's you can feel confident when you go out. So I know that's helped me. Has the body positivity movement impacted any of you?
I feel like maybe it's made me a little bolder in some of my fashion choices at times.
Mm,
So like my day-to-day like dressing is pretty standard, like go to work, come home, leggings, sweatshirts, things like that on the weekends. But when I have to step it up or I'm going out, like I know that the body positivity movement has definitely impacted my choices to like step out of my comfort zone, maybe wear something a little tighter than I normally would be like picking on my first attempt at the store or online.
mm.
And um, I feel like the extra variety of now having more options and choices is huge.
Yeah, I 100% agree. Giving ourselves the permission to like wear things that we wouldn't have normally worn. Like I I think I wore a crop top for the first time like last year, And I know it's because of the body positivity movement and social media, because what it's really done is make me question, like, before I would have said, oh, well, oh man, why is everyone wearing a crop top? I remember when it became a trend like a few years ago, I was like, oh my God, not everyone wants to wear a crop top. Some people don't like their stomachs. And when I finally wore one, I was just like, well, why don't I think it's acceptable? Why didn't I? Like, it's making me question, why did I think that that was not acceptable? And it was because society told me that it wasn't. It's like, oh, you shouldn't show off your stomach. And now I got all the crop tops. I was struggling to figure out something to wear to work the other day because I was like, ooh, I got to work clothes. I got hanging out clothes. I don't have work summer clothes. So it's like, I need to do something about that. Can't show up to work in a crop top. But now it's like, I have no problem wearing certain things that I would have had a problem wearing years ago. So it's helped immensely. And I think that's like for one thing you had mentioned earlier about like taking full body pictures and stuff like that. For me, what's helped a little bit, like I went to the DR in April, and I like rarely take full body photos, but like I finally did that because I really liked my outfit. I had a very cute swimsuit on. The cover up was cute. Like the outfit was like on point. And I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna do this little photo shoot here. And I took a whole bunch of pictures and I loved all of them. And that's something I can't say I would have done a few years ago. And so, like, I've just been kind of just confronting the things that make me uncomfortable and just going head on and going straight through them, even though I feel uncomfortable about doing it.
Another big thing for me is like the work choices, the work clothes options that we have are significantly better than they have been in years past. So TeAnna, you mentioned like matronly clothes like in the past. Our choices for like a professional business suit were like you had a black straight leg pant with a very boxy, ugly blazer and like a basic blouse. Now there are so many options for like showing your personality and like just expressing your brand and yourself through your clothes. My office had a conference in April and I wore a hot pink suit. And like I'm not
Nice.
gonna lie, when I ordered this suit, like I was a little skeptical. I wanted to order the blue suit, and I ran it past my mom, just kind of like, "Hey, what do you like this suit?" And she's like, "No, I like the pink. Get the pink." So I ordered this pink suit and wore it, and I got compliments all day long. And
Was
it
it
was just
from
like
Eloquy?
it was,
Yeah.
but it was definitely that moment of, yeah, I'm a bad bitch right now. Like I look the best in this
I
room.
love stuff like that. Like sometimes I have to wear suits for work. I'm an event planner, so if I'm on site at a meeting, I have a bunch of different suits I wear. One of them is a full floral suit. It's like navy blue, but it's got like all kind of flowers on it, completely floral. I've got
I'm gonna
a
need the link to
green
that.
suit, like, and whenever I wear those things, like people just they remember me. That's number one. People always remember me. It stops people. They're like, "Oh my God, this suit's amazing. I would have never thought to wear that." I think in the past we've been told as plus size girls, like, "Ooh, don't wear bright colors. Don't try to stand out." Like you think
Right.
about suits back in the day, it was all black or gray
Tone
or
it
tan.
down.
And
Yeah.
now I'm just like, I'm wearing all the colors, and y'all are just gonna have to deal.
I for real need the link to that floral suit though.
They don't have it anymore. It was from Eloquy from like years ago. I've had it since like 2017, and it still is like quality. Still have it to this day.
Yeah, that's always, I think for me, when it comes to the different outfits, I got so excited. I have like an online shopping addiction now where I have too many clothes because I was so excited that there were actually clothes that could fit me that I looked good in. And it, and after having the worst thing is when you have clothes that don't fit you or when you gain weight and you're in between sizes and you're trying to like make something work. Like ill-fitted clothing is so much worse than you know just wearing stuff that is actually your size but it's a size bigger or something like that. I stopped thinking about the size as much as like how well does this fit me and how confident do I feel in this particular outfit. And that's really where, and since that kind of opened my eyes. And then I also think with the travel, it all kind of goes together with like posting on Instagram and different things like that, because so much of our trips have become about the gram, right? It's so much about the perception of, do we look like we're having so much fun? And I started noticing on trips where it was like I was more focused on the photo than I was on the actual moment or the experience. But no, so much of the travel experience a lot of times is connected to what we can show people about our trip. And so with, if you have negative thoughts about how you look, you don't want to share things from your trip. And I remember like there are times I would like, I'm not going to post this on Instagram because I don't look 100% perfect, but it's this great moment of everyone having fun. But I noticed this one thing about my body on there that I'm like, I can't post that. And then one day I was like, and this is all kind of recent for me too, where I was like, why can't I post that? Like what's going to happen if I post that picture? Is someone going to be like, "Oh my gosh, look at that spot on Diana, or look at how her arm looks fatter when she stands to the side," or that kind of thing. Or I was like, what if there's a guy that I like that follows me on Instagram and he's going to now have a different opinion of me because he saw, and I'm just like, "Really, Diana? Come on now. Like why are you, who cares? Like post your pictures." So when I started freeing that up, I was just thinking of like some of my pictures from Iceland where I'm like just standing like this, like with my arms outstretched, and I'm going under waterfalls, and you can see the whole thing. And it's just kind of like, I want my whole outfit to be seen, and I look good, and I should be able to share that on my personal social media platforms without worrying about whether or not somebody is going to make a comment about how I look, because I could be 50 pounds smaller and somebody could make a comment about how I looked. I could be, whatever the reason, like that shouldn't affect my enjoyment.
And not only that, I get to this place where I won't take pictures of myself because I'll feel a certain way about how I look on that certain day. But then I look back maybe a few months later, I'm like, what was ever wrong? Like, what did I see that was wrong at that time? And it's just like kind of trying to get out of your head, because then you'll regret not taking those pictures, not posting those pictures. You'll regret that later on. And if you're so focused on the moment, like taking those Instagram pictures, getting the right pose, like you miss out on what's actually happening around you and like being present in that moment. So I know, like, for me at least, just not getting away from your phone, getting away from your camera when you're traveling, like really does a world of wonders for you. So
And have you ever looked back at a picture and you were like, I looked so good in this picture,
yeah.
and for some reason at the time I thought I looked horrible, and I'm going back through old pictures and I'm like, I'm posting this, this, I looked good in
Mm-hmm.
this picture. um So yeah, it's one of those things. It's the social media gives you a really good platform to showcase things and to show your trips and your photo albums and things like that. But it also, I think, has had really negative impacts on self esteem, and also looking at other people's lives and like what we think we're supposed to look like on a vacation, what a swimsuit is supposed to look like on us. I've bought so many new swimsuits lately, and I've been enjoying. TeAnna, remember in Thailand, I had all the swimsuits every day. I was like, and they show all kinds of low cut and this and that, and I'm just like, I'm loving it.
Yep. I have like a tote like that slides under my bed that is literally jam packed full of swimsuits, and I think there's maybe like 3 one pieces in there.
Hmm.
So yeah.
Yep. So, what advice would you all have for women who are plus size who want to start traveling more, but have let some of these things that we've discussed kind of hinder them from, deciding to, go out there and travel and experience new locations, or even traveling abroad? Because I know that can be even scarier for people that are plus sized. What advice would you give them?
Do it. Find your tribe and book the flight, and like do it on a day when you're feeling really bold, and like we said earlier, you're feeling like that girl. Like
Hmm.
book it on a day when you're proud of yourself and you're happy with yourself, and like nothing can stop you, because like however many months later, as the trip is approaching and you're getting nervous, you're gonna be like, I can't not go now. It's all paid for. It's all ready to go. Like, just make the leap, jump, find the people that you want to go with that you know are going to like have a good time and kind of force you to have a good time and enjoy yourself. I've definitely traveled with friends that have made all of the difference on a trip, and I've traveled with people that I will probably never travel again with. So I've seen both ends of the spectrum. Definitely find your tribe that is going to make you say, I don't care who sees me because this is my time and my trip and I'm enjoying myself and I'm living my best life.
Yeah, can't agree more. Like, traveling with the right people is key. That's number one. Like, I'm always going to be traveling with like my biggest cheerleaders. Like, we're going to be each other's cheerleaders. And it's like you said, just do it. Like, I'm a firm believer of if you look good, you'll feel good. So if you like are worried about like, oh man, what am I going to wear when I get there? Turn that notion on its head and say like, ooh, I can't wait to see these fits that I'm gonna pull off when I get there. Like, watch. And there's just so many options out there now. Like, when I'm going somewhere, especially like to a beach or something, Shein, even though they just got a RICO charge, and Pretty Little Thing and Fashion Nova, those are your go-tos for, you know, some cheap, fast fashion that you can get these fits off when you in somebody else's country. And so I just feel like there's plenty of options out here, and like if you find that you know whatever outfit you're gonna wear, like those are things like give yourself stuff to look forward to. So like if I'm getting ready to travel somewhere, if I'm nervous about going there, I start thinking about the things that I'm going to be excited to do when I get there. What outfits am I going to wear? What restaurants am I going to go to? Like, what excursions might I do? And if you do those kinds of things, you'll just get excited about getting there and getting outside of your comfort zone, and wherever it is that you stay, it'll be nice to just experience something different.
Definitely. And I have a question before we go. If, you know, you could pack anything with you, what would be your 1, 2, or 3 like have to haves when traveling?
So I have a couple of things that I always take with me when I travel. One, I always pack like face masks, like the creamy, like because I'm that bougie girl. When I get to the hotel, I'm like, I'm gonna like have a rest night. I'm gonna put on a face mask and I'm just gonna chill in the bed and eat snacks and be a bum and do whatever. Like that's my chill vibe. And I do that when I travel internationally. I do that when I travel for work, big time. So like I'll pack cream face masks or charcoal face masks for one. Two, I always, especially when I'm traveling to beachy locations, I pack a like microfiber absorbent towel that's super big, super comfy. I found it on Amazon and it's like the best. It takes up the least amount of space, but it dries you and it dries itself super fast. I give them as gifts to people now. And then I don't have to worry about the towels at the resorts not being big enough to fit around me or like somebody grabbing my towel. I know that that one is mine. Those are like my two biggest things when I'm traveling. The third one would be my curly hair products if I don't have my hair in braids.
Well, I'm gonna need you to drop the link to that towel because it sounds lit. It sounds like I need
Right?
that.
Or you can give it to me as a gift, like you said.
You all just send me your mailing address, and we'll call it a post podcast gift.
Supplement to the podcast for all of you listening.
Yeah.
Okay, so must-haves. I always take my robe with me. I am a person who likes to kind of like what TeAnna was saying about being bougie and liking to chill. When I'm like getting ready to go out, I like to shower. Then I'll put my robe back on so I can have my robe on while I do my makeup and my hair. Like it just makes me feel like cute. And I don't know, like women I used to see on TV, like, oh, your robe before you put on your actual clothes. Like it makes me feel fancy. So I have to have that. I always bring my seatbelt extenders. We talked about that earlier. Like I'm always bringing that with me no matter what. Let's see, something I have to have. I'm gonna say, okay, lately I've been loving this is more so about how I pack. Lately, I've been loving travel cubes because they just make my life so much better when it comes to like organizing my clothes. It's like, okay, I got all of like my beach stuff here. I got all of my like going out clothes over here. Like it just helps me organize things. So I cannot travel, like I cannot not have my packing cubes.
Agreed.
Yep.
All good things. And Kirsten, I'm a little offended because I've never actually traveled with you outside of like the road trips back in the day from college.
Well,
So
then we need to change that. I see,
yeah,
this is the
yeah.
thing. You one of my rich friends, and my rich friends, they get up and go whenever they feel like it. Whereas I need to plan months in advance when I'm going somewhere. So you let me know when you got like, 8 months out when you think about going somewhere. Let me know so I can work it in my budget. Cause
I will tell you that TeAnna can be peer pressured into telling you months in advance, because that was my stipulation for going to Thailand. Like, you need to tell me months ahead because I'm not big balling like you.
correct.
No, no, it's more so letting you all know, yeah, letting you know months in advance. Like for me, if there's people I really want to travel with, I will let them know months in advance because I really
Mhm.
want them there. And so I will make that happen. So get ready because it's on the
And
air
there's
right
no
now.
backing out when she gives you that notice. Like,
Oh
she'll give
yeah,
you
when
that
Right.
I say
notice,
get
and it's
ready,
like you're on
yeah.
it.
Oh yeah, who knows where we'll end up? Where that'll be another thing for us to think about. Where should we take our next trip? Um, so, and the other thing, is we want to hear from the audience as well. What do you all think about, how do you feel when you travel while plus size? Are there certain destinations that you find to be more or less accommodating? Are there certain tips or tricks that you've come up with for being able to travel more comfortably? And also, how do you overcome feelings of shame or unworthiness? Feelings that you don't deserve to be somewhere because of your size. We want to know all about that, and how body positivity has impacted your mentality about traveling. So definitely want to get the audience's opinions on all of that. But thank you so much, TeAnna and Kirsten, for joining me and Erika today. This was a
Yeah.
lot of fun. I think it was just a really positive message, and I hope it's something that resonates with the listeners. So thank you so much.